That's right. Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop. Welcome back to the Do More Cool Shit podcast, you creative nerds, on episode 36. Thank you for joining me. This is the episode where I'm talking a little bit about seeking those moments, small moments of happiness. I'm glad you've joined me. I got to sit down and have a conversation with the one, the only, Mark Dudlik from Dud Co., which we're going to talk a little bit about what that is. And all about Mark in a little bit. But I did want to open up and talk a little bit about seeking moments of happiness. And you've heard me talk a little bit about that on this podcast before. And Mark is someone who is continually, and we're going to stretch through it. That theme is going to stretch throughout this conversation that I had with Mark. And I really thought that when we had that conversation, it was so interesting that I had to wrap this episode in that bow. And I really wanted to hit the nail on the head. This also, before I get too far, I should mention that this is a video recorded podcast, so you can check that out at youtube.com/domorecoolshit. And I'll have the link in the show notes down below if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything else, and you want to go and watch two larger, bearded, flowing locks of hair gentlemen have a pod battle, is what Mark and I called it. You can do that on YouTube. So all the links will be there. You can absolutely go and take a watch. And I encourage you to take a watch. It really helps the show out if you're dropping any kind of comments or any kind of likes. I love having these conversations. You've been with me long enough now to know that I love the conversation aspect of this, and being able to get to meet different people and being able to open up and stretch out that conversation of creativity. It just fills my heart. So if you want to have that conversation, if you want to jump in, please do. I absolutely will be replying to as many comments as I can. I thoroughly enjoy all of these conversations that I get to have with you folks. So feel free to reach out. Also, if you want to check out domorecoolshit.com, there's the website is over there. There's all kinds of ways to get involved and to continue the conversation and to tell me about the projects you're working on. I'm so interested in what people are doing, how they're doing it, and if Do More Cool Shit can possibly help at all. So go over there and drop me a note. But right now, I just want to talk a little bit about seeking those moments of happiness. And I think it's so important to remind ourselves that we need to seek those moments of happiness and that we need to continue to strive to look for them, and they don't have to be big moments. And I think during that conversation, Mark Dudlik really impressed upon me that notion, that idea, and I was so thankful for that conversation, because I think we get into our days too often, too quick, and we move from one thing to another, to another, to another, without truly appreciating or truly getting to have that feeling of accomplishment or of that feeling of happiness. We're so forward thinking, and instead of pausing and taking a moment to appreciate the things that we're doing right in front of us, I want to put that in your brain. I want to have that continued thought and ideas running through your head as you listen to this episode, as you listen to, if you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to episode 35 where I talk about the path will always change. I think it's so true. And when I was talking to Mark, it's so interesting that his path has changed. And when we broke it all down, it really was about seeking those moments of happiness. And I think that if you're living in this creative world, it's okay to let yourself do that. It's okay to allow yourself to change path. It's okay to allow yourself to seek those moments of happiness and to truly understand what those moments of happiness are for you. I've been having a lot of conversations with some creatives recently, and a bunch of themes have come up around, and I believe I talked about it in the last podcast as well, around people being unhappy or having too much on their plate, and they're making a lot of money, or they're feeling really good about one aspect of the life, but they're not feeling really good about the other aspect of their life, or the money is coming at a price, right? It's coming at a cost. They're making a lot of money, but they're also losing a lot of money, or they're losing a lot of energy. And I think that's something that we have to take into account. I think a lot of people could use a lot less and would be far happier. And I'm hoping that while you're listening to this conversation that I get to have with Mark, I hope that as you're listening to that, you truly understand and can appreciate the things that you do have and the things that do make you happy, and that you understand really at the core, what are we doing on this planet? And I think Mark's journey of trying to figure out what it is that makes him happy, and I think we get to it at the end when we talk about this creative problem solving is the thing that really drives him. I think there's still a search, and there's always a search for that. But at least acknowledging that is a search, I think goes a long way to appreciate your own livelihood and your own happiness. So I'm not gonna say anymore. I don't have any clips for you today. The one thing I do want to play is I'm gonna play real quick, just a quick little video, an intro, a teaser, if you will, of who Mark Dudlik is. It's straight from his Twitch account. You have to go check it out. Twitch.tv/Dudlik. I promise you won't be you won't be disappointed if you go there. You will find a moment of happiness in watching one of Dudlik's streams. And this guy is multi-talented. He has a wealth of knowledge and creativity, and I'm always blown away by what he gets into and how he gets into it, even though the poor curmudgeonly old bastard is going to tell you that he's not talented. Don't believe him. Please get in there, and please take a look at this clip, and then we're going to jump right into the episode, and then I will see you guys at the end where I get to wrap all this up, and I hope that you guys are having an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of this episode.
I glued the bone to my finger. Are you happy, Chris? Welcome to the stream.
I'm an idiot.
Idaho is real. I'm uncomfortable. Welcome to the stream. As soon as I get vaccinated, I'm beating the shit out of all of you.
Well, here I am. It's Do More Cool Shit. I'm hanging out with Mark Dudlik of Dud & Co. on Twitch.
Yeah.
Right? The most famous non-company company?
Yeah, the least well-developed stream bit that I've ever done.
But you did it. You led with it, though. It's there now.
Yeah.
That's how I got to know you. I was like, oh, Dud & Co. All right, cool.
Yeah, I pretend my stream is a company, and that way I can say employees, and I don't have to use words like community or any of that. It's
yeah.
No, this isn't a community. We are all you work here.
Right. We're busy. We're working.
Being on my stream is work.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Watching me is you should be paid for it.
I have been on your stream, and I have both felt great elation and great sweat and effort at the end of most of them.
Yeah.
It is a good workout. But you don't just stream. You have been an artist and in the art world and creating and making for, I think, a very long time.
The artist part is newish to me.
Sure.
I do separate design and art. I've been a designer since, I want to say, high school. So a good couple decades. And then I went to school for design. The art part has been maybe last 2 years when I started painting on stream, and making and crafting on stream. And so I'm really new to that part of it. Yeah.
Well, you've been so I would say you've been creating things.
I've been
for a long time.
A creator type for a very long time. Yeah. Like 20 plus years. Yeah.
I like that. I like that you're still fighting the creator type.
I'm not a huge fan of definitive labels, especially to me, to myself.
I like that when we started talking about this, we earlier today, just texting, we were like, okay, this is now turned into a pod fight. Yes. And we already are at the pod fight moment.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is an improv because it will be no yes anding. It will be no actually.
Perfect.
Which is the opposite of improv. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, just so you know, probably for the next hour, Mark and I will be fighting each other basically on everything.
Well, I won't be fighting you.
Right.
I will be fighting the things you say, including the concept of fighting in general. Now I feel like I need to argue with every point, including...
Okay, perfect. Well, that's what I signed up for. I knew what I was getting myself into when I asked you to come on the podcast. Yeah. So that's good. And we do have very similar beards. We're both wearing hats. We both are very yelly, large men, I think. So I think it's going to be in a rough ride for anybody that's going to listen to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, just so we set the groundwork, set the landscape.
I think you're going to owe people money after they have to sit through this.
Right. Okay.
Me in particular. Yeah.
Okay. You in particular. I thought that was already sent. Didn't I send you the money?
No. I meant having to listen to me in particular, not that I need to be compensated.
Oh, okay.
I'm the reason for the compensation.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're the reason. Yeah.
I lost the joke. I don't know what.
It's all right. We'll turn this ship around.
Okay, please.
Don't even worry about it. Okay. Well, my first question was going to be, what is it like to be Mark Dudlik? But I think we already answered that.
Yeah.
Just from what was just the first 3 minutes.
Would not recommend it to anybody.
Okay.
I would suggest be someone else if you can, at all costs. Fun story. Twitch streamer Sandwich. Yeah. The witch spelled like SAMWITCH. She just did a Chatters Award or Chatter Awards ceremony, and I didn't know this until the award nominees were announced. But one of the awards was most likely to be Mark Dudlik, and I didn't know that was. She just threw that in there.
Okay.
And the nominees were Dudlik, the streamer,
right?
Mark Dudlik, the person. I Can Be Danny, who's a very good friend of mine.
Correct, yes.
And John Borst, who is just a random active chatter in her community.
Okay. Okay.
And so I lost an award about how to be myself.
I was going to say, you didn't win.
Yeah,
you
did not win.
No, and you had 2 names on the ballot.
I had a 50% shot of winning an award named after myself, and I still lost it. So that, to me, kind of... That summarizes what it's like to be me, I think, pretty well.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That is good to know. I do know one thing that we connected through Twitch is originally how I found you, but then I was very fascinated and very interested in all the things you were doing. And I typed your name into Google as though I was going to ask you on a date. And there are an endless amount of Mark Dudlik pieces of content out there. And as I started taking notes today, I was like, oh, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to know all these things. Like, it's pages, man. You've been doing things. You've been doing some cool shit for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's maybe we could agree on that. Maybe you're not creating anything, but you're doing cool shit.
I've had my hand in some cool stuff in the past. Yeah. I will never take credit for all of it. It's always something, I think, any of the stuff I've done, it usually involved a lot of other people being on board and being excited about it or something, or wanting to take part. So yeah.
But do you think you have an inquisitive mind? Like, if somebody comes to you like that, I feel like, from what I know of you and what I've seen, I feel like your brain must dive in deep and be like, oh, I want to figure this out.
I'm very much often more excited about the ideas than the execution. Yeah. if I can distill it, the question down to that.
Yeah.
I like big projects, big ideas, big things. And James Victori had this thing, ignorance and ambition was what so the idea that you don't know what you're not supposed to be able to do, so you do it anyway, kind of thing.
Right.
And I used to kind of live by that. So like I'd started things in Phoenix and other places, not realizing I shouldn't be doing them in my current. Looking back now, I'm kind of embarrassed about some of it.
Okay. Yeah, sure, yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of I have a big idea. I don't know how to do it or whether or not I should do it, but it seems like a good direction to take. And I'd say a good portion of the time it was the right thing to do.
It works out.
It works out sometimes.
Like I feel like I have that too. And that's what I'm always interested in, is like, what makes you over other people? Like, what do you think? Why you? Why did that happen for you, where you're like, I'm interested in this, I think I'm going to try it? Whereas I think a lot of people go, I'm interested in that, I don't want to try it, I probably won't be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of that too. I have a lot of I'm not going to be good at that. But I think one of the big things I try and do is make stuff that is for other people to participate. Like a lot of the things I've done, I think, were frameworks for other people to do the stuff they're interested in. So, like I did the I don't know what the research you found, and I will deny all of it.
Okay. Yeah.
But I started a conference in Phoenix like 15 years ago now, some ridiculous amount of time. Phoenix Design Week, and that was really a framework of an event to showcase designers and artists in the Phoenix area. So it was more about, like, I personally wasn't doing any of it. I was just giving a funnel for other people to do to show off their work and their knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the Phoenix Design Summit. What about the Phoenix Design Museum?
Oh, so Phoenix Design Summit was something else. There's Phoenix Design Week.
Oh, right.
When I was in Phoenix, I was very much. It's got this inferiority complex as a city. At least it did. I can't speak. I haven't been there for a decade now.
Yeah.
But at the time, there was like this. They're the 5th or 6th biggest city, but they're never considered as a big city. So a lot of my stuff right out of college was like focusing on that and bringing things together. So Phoenix Design Week was a week of events and a big conference. Phoenix Design Summit was basically a way to get designers and nonprofits to work together to solve some of their issues using design thinking techniques and that kind of stuff. Phoenix Design Museum was a pop-up museum that showcased a lot of there were a couple exhibitions in it. We only did it the one time, and then it became the Chicago Design Museum, which is now Design Museum. I'm not involved anymore. I was a co-founder, and they kind of branched off and did something completely different. And they're like a permanent institution now, which is really cool. But again, the framework started from Phoenix, even though they don't talk about it anymore because it's just a confusing narrative. I'm having trouble explaining. We did a pop-up museum in Phoenix, and then my friend and I did a pop-up version in Chicago, and that became its own thing. And now it's Design Museum Chicago. I think the language was confusing. People thought it was meant to be a showcase of the design of the city, but it was just a design museum. But with the Phoenix one, we had an exhibition from AIGA, which is the Professional Organization for Design, and then we also had a collection of posters by someone who worked with Paul Rand, but he lived in Arizona, and so that was nice.
A variety. So, like, you had a variety of...
We did, yeah, and it was on a tight budget. We were in this historic warehouse that had been basically, we cleaned it up because it was just a kind of just a storage thing that needed some potential. So we cleaned it up, and we put we used the chipboard as the background. We didn't even paint it. We just had this cool exhibition. And it was like the 3rd year of Phoenix Design Week. And the national conference had come instead of me running it that year. So it was pretty big. I think we had a couple thousand people pass through this 1-month museum pop-up that was literally hey, what if we did a museum?
Isn't that how, like, every good idea starts, though? Hey, what if, you know?
I had no curatorial background. I had no, like, preservation background. I had no my exhibit design experience was limited, so I think if you were like a regular museum, you were slightly insulted by the fact that I was just doing it.
Yeah.
But I did enough research and I looked into it enough, and I did the work. It's easier to say I just because nobody else is here.
That's right. They can't speak up.
The people involved, we made sure that it was true to highlight both the work and the idea of archives and showcasing certain artists or designers or whatnot.
Well, and also, I don't know if you have this feeling or this idea or thought, but like, what makes, I hear you say like, people that run museums probably were like, oh, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, but what gives them any more? Like, don't we just make all this stuff up anyway?
I mean, yeah, to a certain point. I mean, there is something to be said for, what's a good comparison? I don't know. People who design stuff and don't necessarily realize why papyrus is maybe not the best choice.
Right.
Or, that kind of stuff where there's little tips and tricks you learn along the way that are sometimes... That's probably a terrible example, actually, because papyrus can work sometimes. But it's just more like, specifically like, hey, if you're showcasing art in the archive, certain methods of making sure it's just like giving it the gravitas it needs or something, or protecting the work. That's specific to the museum example, but
yeah,
there is something to be said for certain amounts of education and experience that those ideas, you can have that big idea, but it needs to sometimes be grounded in certain things to make sure it's effective and safe and as lives up to the spirit of the idea, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I like the idea of a spirit of an idea.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing. I do think though that the spirit of an idea can change for everybody. Like I'm all for like, yeah, I want to give ode to the folks that have done shit. But my favorite thing, I love when people come to work for me and I'm like, what do you do? Like, what's your specialty, right? And they're like, oh, I write scripts. And I'm like, great, you're going to be editing. And they're like,
yeah.
well, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, that's amazing because you don't have any preconceived notions of what and how you should act. So you might put out shit that's going to be way better. In my mind, than is someone who has studied it and is like, oh, this is the rote routine of how we do it here. So I do see both sides, but I always lean towards the other side of like, I don't know, who said a museum or whatever, or a film or a movie or anything should be the way it is.
Yeah, no, and I'm the same way. I tend to lean towards the I don't have any bad habits kind of thing. Like, you don't have bad habits for certain things, so you don't have to unlearn them. And sometimes you get pigeonholed by your education a lot of the time. So I see both sides of the argument. I guess my thing was more both sides of the argument, and the counterpoints also have good reasoning behind them. So it's that balance of ignorance and ambition, I guess, of like, how do I don't know what I'm not supposed to be doing. Sure. But I do know the way I want. I do know the goal I'm after, and I hopefully I'll get there, and along the way figure out I'll check off the wrong things to do list and not make that same mistake later.
Right, don't do that again. Yeah, that's fair. That's the one thing that I don't know. That's one thing I've always respected. I love watching your streams because it can be painting. You could be gaming. You could be doing painting in the studio. You could be painting out in the world. You could be doing. You could be making food. I've seen you do sculpture as well, and I don't know, all kinds of different things. Right, like on the pottery wheel, and I'm like, man, I always am envious of folks, and I think there's so many people that are like, I don't know, just would stop themselves because they say, "Oh, I don't know how to do this thing," or I shouldn't do that. And I know you have. I know you've had those thoughts because you've verbalized them. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I mean, I think that's my catchphrase, actually. Yeah.
But you keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. That now's never stopped you. Like, every time you're like, I don't know if there's any fucking good or not. And you're like, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I respect that. And I think the world needs more of that.
Well, I do have a cabinet of yarn because I thought I wanted to learn crochet. So
sure.
As a counterpoint to that, sometimes the paths you head down leave a lot of baggage. And that sounds deeper than I meant it to sound, but it is sort of true. I think one of the things that is important to me about just existing is that I do things in my own way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the learning journey of like, I don't know how to make pottery, but I will start with a mini pottery wheel and it'll be funny and a mess.
Sure.
And then I'll slowly get a bigger pottery wheel and I'm okay at it.
Yeah.
And then that's when I get bored. And then now I'm painting and now I'm trying other things. I think it's important, especially with the stream, is that I'm doing things in a unique way. And I'm ignoring some of the, like, one of the big things on Twitch is you need to play your one thing or your one game.
Right.
And that's how you grow. And you have a set schedule and you're always on time and you play the same game and you grow that way. And I said, I'm going to learn art live and I'm going to learn how to whittle and not be good at it. And I'm going to figure out how to paint outside, and haven't made a good painting outside yet, but it's fun still for some reason. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What is a good painting? Because I've heard you say that before, and I'm like, what is a good painting? What makes it good or bad?
Yeah. So far, a good painting is other people's. That's how I defined it. Not mine. If I made it, it can't be that good because I'm the one who did it. So there has to be something wrong with it.
Like every good artist on the planet, I have made nothing good. Other people have.
If I'm able to pull it off, it can't be that good.
Can't be that good. Okay, but what about the guy that taped a banana on the wall? What about a guy that taped a banana on the wall?
That, to me, was more about the concept was the art, not the banana on the wall. If he tapes a pineapple to the wall, it's the same art piece, right?
Would it have? You think so?
I think conceptually, the idea of my art is me taping some shit to a wall, and it's gonna have more impact than anything I've ever done.
Right. So that is good.
He won.
Yeah, he won. He
It
won.
wasn't a competition, but he beat me anyway. You know, if the fact that we both have the cultural similarity knowledge of the banana taped to the wall at what was it? It was an Art Basel piece, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Why do we know about it?
Right.
Nobody. There's not going to be a communal knowledge about one of my shitty birds that I painted. You know, the one time I'm painting outside and it's a terror, like, and I also don't know if I want to have any of it do too well. I kind of like not. I don't make sense. I stream and I don't want attention. I don't like. There was like the streamer awards.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw. I literally wrote the person and said, "Please, I don't think I'm going to get nominated, but if I am, don't.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Please don't."
And I didn't get nominated, and I don't think I was even close. But it's still the same.
And they looked at that email and they're like, "Wait, who the fuck is this?"
Yeah, you're fine, bud. Don't worry.
Like, don't worry about it.
Like 2 people voted for you.
Yeah, don't worry.
You're not in there.
And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's good, perfect. That's what I want."
enough people were joking about it that I was
Sure.
like, oh man, maybe I'll get in as a meme, and I don't like. I just since the Phoenix stuff and since some life setbacks, I prefer to just like exist in a controlled state where I'm making stuff and I'm getting by.
Yeah.
Which isn't. I've lost some of that aspiration, I guess. I'm like, I would like to just survive and exist, and
But be happy doing it. Like,
Be
I think we
happy
talked
doing
about
it,
it
yeah.
before we started recording, and it was like, you were doing work that was profitable, but not really soul filling, and you weren't learning anything new, probably.
no.
But now you get to wake up every day and learn something new, or try something new, or
Yeah.
you know. And I'm assuming that probably fills your soul a little bit more. Maybe the paycheck's a lot less, but also you're probably happier.
Well, I'm sad in a different way. No, I am. Yeah, I would say I'm more creatively fulfilled, and a lot of the issues, like the my past two like consulting jobs, there was talk of more work afterwards, and I was doing the work, and it just was like, yeah, this paycheck is good, but all the paycheck is going towards is the thing I actually want to do.
Right? Yeah. Why don't you
And
just do that?
in the moment that I'm doing the other stuff to do this, to get to the place I want to be, I'm miserable, and my brain, I realize there's a lot of people who say they have ADHD post like quarantine, and it is sometimes a meme, but I have been diagnosed several different times over the years, and it's advanced pretty far along too, where it's rough.
Yeah.
It is all the worst parts of it, and a big part of that sometimes is the executive dysfunction of where I'm working on a project, I know I need to do it, but nothing in my body will let me be interested or excited or whatever my brain needs to do that. So I put it off until, the excitement of I need to do this today or I'm fired. And that I couldn't live like that, where I was just like doing things last minute because that's the only time I could focus on them enough.
Right.
It's
You can't live like that forever. You can do that for a while.
Yeah, and it sounds like, well, just do your work. I know how it sounds and looks, and I get it. Oh, you were unhappy doing work, so you just did it last minute. That's whiny at that point. Right. But it's literally chemically or whatever it is, where I will sit here and wish I was doing it instead of doing it. But I don't run into that as much with art and with creative things that are meant to make other people happy.
Well, and I think your variety, like, it's probably speaks a little bit, or it comes from some of your variety too, right? Where you're like, if your brain is doing that, then why not allow yourself to kind of do that?
Yeah.
Because I love when I come into your stream and I'll be like, oh my God, he's outside now. Now we're painting outside, and I'm like, he's just trying that. And that, I don't know, that to me, no matter what painting you make, whether it's good, you want to call it good or bad or whatever, I know that there's other people in that stream that leave there and go, oh, I've never tried painting outside. Okay, cool. I'm going to try it. Because Mark did it.
Not to be sappy, but that is maybe the best part about the streaming is when someone's like, I'm going to try watercolor now. Right. And I'm like, perfect. I will help you along the way because I just started trying watercolor. Right.
I'm only like 3 steps ahead.
I watched a few more hours of tutorial videos, which I'll share with you. Yeah. And I think that's also a big, exciting, and nice part about the art part of Twitch is everyone is so willing to be like, hey, let's make things together. And I think that compared to certain aspects of the UX world, it was all competition. How do we make our thing better than their thing? And I think art, and at least in the Twitch way, is how can I make my thing with you, or how can I make something that helps you make your thing, kind of. There's a more of an exchange and a shared, I don't want to say joy because I'm a grumpy old man, but there's a shared joy in making art.
Sure.
Like Liz Clayton Fuller, I Paint Burbs, is, you'll have to edit this out. She's one of my best friends at this point, and I hate saying it.
Oh, I could do, if you want to say that again, I just.
Yeah, she is one of my.
Yeah.
And then if you just.
Yeah, we'll just do
one
that.
One of the best, just bleep out the best. She, when I was first starting, I've loved birds for a while. And I'm like, I want to try painting watercolor because it looks accessible and easy and fun.
Yeah.
And I was struggling with it, and then I'm like, hey Liz, what should I do? Like, I just asked Liz
on stream,
in stream, or I messaged her on Discord.
Yeah.
And if you look at like her resume, I shouldn't be allowed to talk to this person, this famous, this world-renowned, award-winning, talented person is like, I'm at Blick, and I'm like, hey, what type of watercolor should I get? It's just me. And she replied, and she gave me the wrong expensive answers. I found out later. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. I don't bring it up whenever I can.
That's good. That's good. You would never.
I would never. And then she's come onto my stream a couple times and helped. We've done live tutorials together where she's teaching me how to. The first one I did was a pelican. I look back on it and it's terrible, but it's so much better because A, it was. Liz was teaching me along the way, and B, I got to make it with Liz, and that was amazing. And then she came on like a couple months later, and I had improved a ton, and then I continue to improve because of her. Same with Danny. I Can Be Danny.
Yeah,
we do some of the goofiest stuff together. We are both. He's much more of the artist than I could ever be. But I aspire to be as good as both of them. But we'll be making art sometimes, but other times we are just playing a fishing game and goofing around.
Right.
But we bring our own creative energy to everything we're doing.
Yeah.
Danny is also a very good friend. Again, edit this out. It goes against everything I stand for to say I have friends.
Yes, right. Yeah, no, we won't let anybody know.
Yeah,
no.
But yeah, I think that's a big part of what is keeping me on Twitch.
Yeah.
Is the creative. I wish there was a better word than camaraderie because it just sounds cheesy. But there's a group of us that just makes it better to be alive, which is sometimes I need that because it's hard.
Yeah,
a lot of the days. Yeah,
for sure. And I think creating can be lonely, right? You can. Like, for all intents and purposes, people are like, yeah, but you're on there and you've got 100 and whatever, or 200 people are in chat, and they're like, yeah, okay, fair. But you can still be lonely because at the end of the day, you're still just making the thing. But I think it's that group and that community, and that's the thing I think a lot of people struggle with that I'm always trying to say is find, I have said that so many times on this podcast of like, find the people. There are people. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you want to fish, you want to crochet, you want to do whatever. You want to rip the bindings out of a book. Like there is a group out there that does that.
I have a bookbinding stream in mind that I used to make books for school.
And there are people that were in your stream that were like, oh, I love this part, or I've done this, or I'm a part of this group that in San Francisco we're the bookbinding remover group, or
Yeah.
And it's like you can find those people, and I love that about that world, or just any creative world, is like finding that group. And I think you found that group, and I had it in my notes to bring up those people, and I didn't even have to because it's just a part of who you are and what you're doing and what we're all doing. It's like
I will actively tell people when other people I like go live and hope they go over there.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. I've
literally
seen that. You're like, go. You don't need to. I've already been doing this.
Yeah.
You go. She's better.
I'm working on a bot
Yeah.
action that when one of them goes live, it plays a fake ad on my screen, like a lower like a lower thirds thing that says
Right.
so and so is live now.
I love it.
And it's just I haven't gotten it to work just yet, but
you will.
I'll get around to it probably.
You
I've
will.
been one of the things too is of following your brain when it wants to go place. I've been playing Minecraft for like 6 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yes, I have seen that.
And the way I'm playing Minecraft, I think is in a unique way to me, where I'm planning to make things in the game that I then paint in the real world, and it's just weird. It's weird that I can still be doing art in video games and finding that balance, and everybody in the community area of art community part of Twitch, we still interact and exchange ideas, and it's nice. It's nice that no matter what we're doing, we're still being creative together, like fishing game or Minecraft or. And
sometimes it's better if you're. I think it's better if you're just fishing and you're talking about that stuff and you're not like in the thick of it. I think anyway.
It's nice to know you're not stuck in something, which I think happens sometimes.
Sure.
Like I've watched streamers who played Dead by Daylight, got huge playing Dead by Daylight, cannot stand the game now.
Right.
But the second they're not playing that game, everybody leaves, so they feel stuck.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky enough where I'm not stuck. Yeah, I kind of just rambled. I'm not sure. I think
that's okay. That we're no. I think it was all part of it. You know, and I think where you got to was somewhere. I think about that all the time. When you think about like a traveling band, right? That any well-known band, you know, they've been playing for 20 years, and all of a sudden it's like, play the song. Like, but we just wrote new material, and they're like, yeah, play the thing we know though.
That's one of the things that I think has kept me away from music. I try and get in. I have some little synthesizers that I can't quite work, but the idea of once I have a song, I have to continue to. It'd be like once I paint this one thing, I have to keep painting that over and over, and that's because that's what. That sounds like that sounds like a nightmare. Not that music sounds like a nightmare, just the idea of the repetitiveness of it.
You want to keep creating.
Yeah.
I think that's something fascinating of someone who has that in them. Like, I want to keep creating. I want to push the bounds. I want to try new things. I think all creators have that. And I think that's the constant battle of like, but we really like the thing you did. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but I did it. Like, I'm done with that now. I have bits on stream, like jokes that people keep asking for or want me to do again. And I'm like, look, A, you liked it because it was unique. Right.
B, you might like it again, but eventually we're all going to be bored with it.
Yeah, right.
So I'd rather you miss it than be sick of it. So I'm done with it. So I have like a blimp thing that I just don't really do very often anymore, and a lot of bit alert things that happen and they're gone, and that's another great thing about streaming. And the way I do it is I could probably completely rebrand tomorrow and I'd get a lot of I miss so and so, but I think the new stuff would keep me interested and them interested, so it works out. I do get a lot of like mostly fake complaints about like I miss blank, and I'm like,
well, I think that
I don't. So
from what I've seen, that just fuels your fire. You're like, good.
What I'll do is saying, oh, so now the stream's terrible. You hate it here, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, calm down then. The blimp is gone. It's fine.
Yeah. That was yesterday's.
This blimp, it was gone on too long.
Yeah. Well, I think like I don't know. That reminds me then of people like Seinfeld that say, yeah, we stopped. Like, we stopped at this point. You could have kept making seasons or other shows, you know, and it's like, when do you know to just be like, okay, well, I'm going to stop this and try something new, or which I think is an important part of it, important part of the creative process anyway, and like creating, and you have to keep yourself interested.
Yeah.
But I think if you're doing things on your own, and that's why one of the missions that I always try to put out there is like, you know, if you feel yourself wavering, figure out a new way to try something. Like, you know, you don't have to be stuck. If you open up a pie store and you open up with an apple pie and a pumpkin pie, and that's the only two pies you make, you don't have to make those for the rest of your life. You can try a turnover.
Yeah.
You know, maybe people will like that, right?
Yeah, my issue would be, okay, well, today the bakery is actually, I'm making shirts now.
Right, yes, yeah. Somebody would
We're
open the
not
door.
selling
And
pies. I'm teaching myself to sew, and now we're making a single shirt jacket because I wanted to try that.
Right.
Tomorrow, hey.
We only have hats. We only have hats.
Sorry, tomorrow I'm actually, I'm going to make a Zen garden.
Right.
A pile of sand. And... hey, actually, you know what? Maybe on Tuesdays I'm going to make pies. And
that would be a hell of a store.
Yeah.
That would be, I don't, like, that would, can you imagine what that store would be of, like...
And that's Dud & Co.
That's Dud & Co. Is you open the door, you hear the little chime, ding, 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 ding. And they're like, what the hell is going on in here today?
Literally, for about 3 or 4 months, I had an AI assistant that I was using those AI people generators that, like... they'll say stuff for you in like tutorials. Yeah. And I had an assistant that I would pop up and say, time to pay your fees. And then disappear. Right. And then I got banned from one of the sites because I didn't know I couldn't make them say fuck. And they said, you how dare you use this? And I'm like, nobody's using this for real anyway. Right. And then I just got like I didn't know what to do with it. It, like, the novelty of it wore off, and if it's wearing off for me, it's only a matter of time before it wears off for everybody else, so we move on. Like, even, I have, the one thing that's stuck with the stream is the fees, and I think that's just a participation thing more than it is, like, I don't think anybody actually enjoys the fees, they just enjoy, like, the ritual, and that's something I think that's more important than an actual... individual idea. It's the rituals that make people feel like they belong, or like they're part of it, or an excuse to be creative. Like Danny does paint good, and I'm sure there's weeks where it's tedious for him to be like, okay, we're doing another painting, but that ritual of again shared joy of people painting together, I think is the main idea there.
And for those who don't know, fees are not people literally giving you a fee.
No, if I could find a way to make people feel included to give me money every hour,
right? Yes,
I would. But it is it's just a channel point thing. Like it's a little like attendance value point system that Twitch has built in, and once an hour, everyone has to give me one of those little attendance coins.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm so contrary, and I appreciate your contrarianism, that I don't think I have ever paid one fee ever. Just so you know.
All right, I gotta go.
Just so you know.
I gotta go.
Just so you know. Yeah. That ends. That's how I knew this would end like that. I knew I would offend him, but I have a backup though, so it's okay. We don't have to worry about Dudlik ending.
Oh, do you have John Borst, the guy who won my award?
No, I have a backup. I wanted to know, in figuring all this out, I needed to know how to get a monk laid. So I knew if you left me, I would just play this.
Oh, that's the one?
Aha! Back for another tiny tale, are we? Well, hello. Let's get on with it then.
You made this.
Mm-hmm. This was Vine. These were Vines.
This is an important contribution to...
The monk had unexceptional origins.
To the art world.
A normal family life and a loving father.
This is so embarrassing.
So, obviously, he
you ended. We would have just kept talking. But you ended.
I am my own worst enemy.
And as you know,
sex miniatures.
There's sex. Lots and lots of sex.
I loved it.
Oh, and there's that one time with the secretary. Pardon me, it gets quite lonely up here. One of the heists went wrong when hostages were taken and they all got caught. The monk had to turn state's witness.
Do we?
He served a reduced sentence.
Maybe we'll just leave it on a cliffhanger. We don't even have to. We're not going to finish it.
How do you do it?
Yeah, we'll leave. We don't know. We'll leave it on a cliffhanger. But that was 7. That was a long time ago, I think.
It's wild the amount of time that led up to that and things from that. So when I was in college, we had to make an exhibit design. We had an exhibit design class. We had to make a scale model of some exhibit we were going to do. And I found out about the fun world of railroad miniature figurines. My model was an exhibit of the Galapagos.
Right.
And I made like a whatever those maps are called where it shows you the levels.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I made a version of that. So
Topographical map.
Yeah, topographical elevations. So I made a 3D model of that with laser cut shapes so it looked like an island, and then I found little penguins and palm trees, and I put those in as representative for the exhibit. Cut
nice.
To I don't know, 5+ years later, I was tasked with helping a hotel during renovations have their lobby be interesting. And the idea was, I had the idea, it was in New York at the time, and I said, you know what's fun is where there's all that construction that's happening in the city, and they have the little windows so you can look in.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what we should do? We should make that visual language, but instead of inside of the construction, you see the construction, I'm going to make little dioramas.
Yeah.
And inside those dioramas, we'll have a little construction scene, like here's, go check in upstairs. I found there's sex miniatures. For some reason, a German company makes extremely detailed miniatures of sex acts.
Okay.
Because some railroad enthusiasts want to have red light districts in their...
That was going to be my 2 main questions. Was did you have to make those miniatures yourself? So no. And 2, I noticed the nice little blurred edges there. Was that Vaseline on the lens, or was that post production?
That I'm pretty sure I made that with my so that's a whole one. We're slightly ahead. So I made those. I made those dioramas.
Yeah. Okay.
The hotel loved them. Cut to a few years later, Vine is happening.
Yes.
That was the second in a series that I'd made about.
So wait, what ones did you put in the hotels though? So did the hotel accept it?
They did. They liked it.
Okay.
We lined the walls with the green stuff, and we also had a lot of stapled on fake moss. So it looked like it was growing.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing now I'm repeating my ideas years later, and we'll get to Minecraft in a second. Yes, it does connect to Minecraft somehow.
Thank God.
It's weird now.
That's what I was really trying to get to, is your endeavor into Minecraft.
We got to get to the 40-year-old-ish person playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
So Vine, in Vine, I made... There was this Shorty Award, not Shorty Awards. There was some award thing where they had a prompt for making a series.
Okay.
And I made a series. All of those combined into one video on Vimeo that I forgot I had uploaded.
Right.
And thanks for finding that. I have to go hide that.
If you want to find another one, you can also find out how to drown a mermaid.
How to Drown a Mermaid?
Yeah.
That was
That's
the one
also there.
That was they both got nominated for the award because it was
of course
2 years in a row.
did.
And so I was making that little series for Vine. I recorded that on my phone with like a macro lens attached.
Okay.
And it was definitely post-production. It was After Effects blur to hide, I think, the table. Because it was like, they're very tiny. They're literally, I still have them somewhere over there. I have just a pile of railroad miniatures.
Orgy of naked miniatures.
Like, I don't even show them on stream because I think it's TOS.
It's just right. It's a whole little shoebox full of them.
Yeah, so now we can't watch this on stream.
Okay, good.
But it's not. So they're all. I'm looking at them. I don't know where they are in there, but so I made those vines, and they both got nominated. Lost them both. Haven't won an award in my life. well, no, I did. Anyway, cut to I make dioramas on stream sometimes. I've made like for Halloween. I got one of those plastic pumpkins, and I put a fake library in there. So I just really love dioramas and miniatures. And now we're in Minecraft, where my main thing I'm doing in Minecraft is developing diorama style big cubes that are like enormous in the game, but are meant to, I'm going to fill in with different biomes and aspects of the game. And then I'm making like nice compositions so that I can take a screenshot and then paint that in the real world.
Right.
So I'm making a miniature version of something in the video game to then make in the real world, and that's why I have sex miniatures.
Yeah, obviously. Why else would you?
It all connects.
Why? Thank God there's an answer.
I actually wrote about them for one of the assignments that, when I was getting my master's degree. I have a master's degree. I'm making Minecraft dioramas. I don't make sense, and I don't care to try to anymore at this point.
But that's part of the reason I like you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Because I think there is...
At least one of us does.
I think the whole world really is trying to make sense of everything, and we used to live in... I had to argue with this all the time, and so part of our company does alternative education stuff, so we teach kids how to read through baseball and math through soccer and all that stuff, and we've been doing that for years. And I fight constantly against the education system that I think was built many moons ago for the factory workers of like, come in here, go here, do this, get out, have your paper, you know. So I love the journey of like, because it's possible now. You can do that journey. You can go get a master's degree and then play with sex miniatures for a living if you want.
Well, I really don't like the framing that my livelihood depends on this, on playing with sex miniatures.
Nobody will. I'll edit this out.
I haven't looked at them in a while. The weird thing is, what I'm doing right now, because of all that past stuff, right now I very much feel like a failure. I'll be honest with you.
Fair.
And I had a nice okay job in New York, and I screwed some stuff up, and I lost that job.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm in the position I'm in now, which, you know, I live with my mother, and I'm in a very green basement but I have the privilege of streaming and making art, weirdly, because I'm a failure. And I constantly grapple with that, and that's a big part of why I think I don't like the work I'm doing. In the end, is because it feels like, well, I'm doing this because I can't do blank. Or I'm doing this because I failed to do blank, and that is a big part of the struggle of this current part of my life is the idea of, can I see what I'm doing as a successful thing in context of what it is, and not constantly compare it to what I could be, and that's. I don't have an answer for that, but I think that I know you were saying that a lot of this is about the journey of, a lot of your doing this show is the journey of being an artist or being creative and where it goes. And sometimes you fail in your life, or something goes wrong, and you're not happy with where you are, and you make the best of it. And for me right now, the best of it is learning how to paint, and getting better about painting, and learning how to encourage other people to feel comfortable with learning new things and trying and failing. Because, for better or worse, I am moderately successful on Twitch. Like, I have the badge, and I have people come through. I would say I'm, you know, you look at the actually successful people on Twitch, and they'll have 50,000 viewers and 50,000 subs. And so I am closer to not streaming. I'm 1,000 times closer to not going live ever than I am to ever being at that level. And finding feelings of fulfillment in that seemingly, non-existence. Like I'm closer to 0 viewers than I am to 1,000.
Right.
With my 100. So I think the struggle often is how do I keep going and keep making? Because the sex miniatures thing, it just reminded, the sex miniatures thing was so long, it feels like an entire series of lifetimes ago. And it essentially is. Because like there was a time where I was in Phoenix and I was doing giant big events and conferences that hundreds of people were attending, and I was making an impact in a city. I moved to New York. I was helping people start to pursue higher education, and I was advising students on how they could navigate learning. Like I don't want to talk about where I worked, but
that's fine.
the program I was in was basically helping whoever wanted to learn how to do that thing, how to learn it.
Yeah.
And I got a little. My brain kind of said, I don't want to do this anymore, when it was kind of too salesman-y, capitalist to get people into that educational program. And so I kind of just, I wasn't good at the job anymore, and I screwed up and I lost the job, which is fine. And now...
But a part of you wanted... I mean, I don't know this for sure. I mean, I've known you for a few minutes, but you wanted to lose that job, I think.
I did. Yeah.
It was time for a change. It was time for something different.
It was.
And I think, to me, it's like, I don't think any of those things are failures, because it's all just part of the journey. It's all part of this fucked up, weird journey that we're on. And it's like, to me, the courage and the excitement that I got was like, when I tune in to you, you're going to do something different every time. You're changing. You're constantly changing. And you do criticize yourself, and you do and you're like constantly like figuring out what it is you want and try. And that's what I like. And I think that's more of a success than anything. And I think it's more of a success that you push other people to do. Like, that to me is like what you're talking about, doing things, one big thing in one city. I mean, I know, okay, so what if you have 100 people? Those 100 people could be in like 100 different cities.
Right.
And they're all feeling that, because that energy is in you as a person. I feel that. That's why I was drawn to you, because I was like, oh, this guy's not afraid to try shit, even though he's going to say that it sucks always. It's never
and
stopped
I'm always
you.
Right too. It's the worst part is I'm right every time.
But it doesn't suck. Nothing sucks. Like, I don't understand. Like, I still don't know what is a bad piece of art. Like, if you say it's a good piece of art or a bad piece of art, it's just a piece of art.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, to me that was the courage that I think is really cool, and that's why I wanted you to come on. Is like, yeah, okay, whatever, all that shit happened, big deal. The fact that you keep coming on and you keep pushing forward, that's a success, because you could just lay down, go get another job. You could be a janitor somewhere. There's nothing wrong with janitoring, but you could stop creating, and you could stop figuring it out. And like, I'm encouraged by that non-stop business, and maybe that is your ADHD, but it's also a huge part of, I don't know, what you're giving back to the world all the time, I think.
And I think, there was a point where I was working at a grocery store in the back with making chicken, frying, or roasting rotisserie chickens, and I was the best at it, though.
Sure.
I made too many chickens sometimes. Which is funny, but it's true. They were like, you need to make as many as possible. And then they were like, okay, whoa.
Slow down. You're too fat. You're rotating too fast.
It's literally you're and that I think was my lowest point, was the chickens. But my point is, with the stream and the talk of failure, some people could say, okay, he's a Twitch partner. Hey, he's averaging maybe 110, depending. Can do whatever he wants on stream and see that as success, and see that as some unobtainable thing.
Right.
And when people are like, "Oh my God, they like a painting," I'm like, "Yeah, but I just watched a bunch of tutorials over the past year. Like, anything, I truly truly believe anything that I'm doing on stream, including the tech, including this fake pottery, any of this.
Wait, that's not a real pottery studio?
No, it's not. I'm so sorry to break this to you. I don't know if you want behind the scenes. I am just in a green room. There's a chair cover.
No, it's the whole thing.
Even this looks fake. The green looks fake at a certain point. But my point, I believe that obviously I have a certain set of privileges where I am with my mom, so my rent is half a mortgage, and I help her with that most of the time. Sometimes there is some privilege to like my age and having some I don't know. My point is like that there is a potential for anybody to do what I'm doing.
Sure.
I don't think anything I've done is so out of this world advanced or takes a special sort of skill or a special sort of like brain or like none of this is inherently only Mark Dudlik could do this.
Right.
I think anybody is capable of watching a bunch of tutorials, obsessing over them, and learning how to paint a bird. I agree with you on that. I think anybody can do any of the stuff I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoy when people try new stuff because of me. But at the same time, I will this version of success to some people is still me feeling like a failure. And sometimes that's a driving force. I very much, for whatever reason, feel like praise and compliments are damaging to me. Where like if I get comfortable and happy and content, that's when the failure starts again. Because I am here and I've like there's nowhere for me to go if I'm comfortable and content. I have no driving force. So I would not recommend living like that. I would not recommend seeing success as a way to fail. But I would recommend you can do whatever you want. You can learn as much. Anything I'm doing, you can do better.
You can learn it.
It's very much I believe in that a lot.
Well, yeah, and you can learn it. Like, we have access to everything now.
I've watched so many courses on Domestika, and a lot of them are one-offs, and they're little project-based things. But, like, I can explore, do I want to learn how to tattoo?
Yep.
Okay, maybe. I got this. Do I want to learn how to paint? I was stuck on watercolor. I wanted to do watercolor. Now I'm trying oil. Mm-hmm. Not good at it. Not great at it.
Well, and of course you're not good at it.
Still trying it, yeah. the plein air stuff that when I go outside, I used to call it... when I first said I was going to do that, I'm like, I'm going to go paint a lake at a lake. And Danny's like, it's called plein air. I'm like, nah, that sounds too serious. I'm calling it painting a lake at a lake. Yeah. Because I'm not a real artist. I'm just the guy who's going to go outside and paint a lake at a lake. Correct. And I still think that's true. I don't think I've ever painted a lake at a lake that was a painting worth having. And so but do people buy your shit though? People have bought your stuff, right? Not the lake ones. The lake ones have never been on sale. So that stuff for sure is bad. But the rest of it, people have bought it. The rest of it, I've tricked people into enjoying. No, that's bullshit. I call it bullshit. People have bought it. This show is do more cool shit, not calling bullshit. So I'm calling bullshit because people look at it and people cheer. I've been in your chat when people have been like, "Wow, this is really good." I have some stuff that people like, and I think it's okay. I know it seems like an act and it's self-deprecation, but I genuinely like. I had a bird that I painted. Greater adjutant. It's this ugly, disgusting bird, and I like painting the ugly birds because they don't get enough credit for existing. And I submitted it to a local art org, and I won a watercolor award for it. Yeah. But in my head, I'm like, well, yeah, it's Pottstown, Pennsylvania. who gives a shit? You know, I'm very good at talking myself out of victories.
Right.
I like the painting. It looks good, but if I look at it long enough, I see everything wrong with it. And
Sure.
I'm glad other people enjoy it, so I don't want to take that joy from them. If they like it and think it's good, I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I will continue to hate it so that I can make something else you might like, and then maybe we'll both like it. And now I know we're both never going to like it. I will find a way to hate everything I ever do.
I was like, do you think you're ever going to get, is that the journey? Or is it going to be like, are you ever going to like a thing you make? Do you even have to like it, though? Who cares if you like it? It doesn't matter. You made it.
I have to like it enough to scan it and put it on the print shop.
Yeah.
And then leave it there and not look at it. And if somebody likes it, that's great. I don't talk about it a lot because it feels like I'm insulting people who do like it.
Yeah.
Which
yes,
is not the case. I'm like, if you do like it, that's great. I personally can see everything I screwed up, and I'm glad you don't notice it. Right. Give me your money for this art I hate, you fool, is what you think I'm saying. And I'm accidentally maybe saying that. I'm not good at the commerce part of anything. I'm not good at the, hey, subscribe to me. I'm not good at giving you bits. I'm not good at buy my art. I'm not good at buy my commissions. Every time somebody has bought a print or commissioned me, I feel like it was an accident on their part, but
they thought they were on ipaintburbs.com and they thought they were buying a Liz painting, and then they were like, oh shit, I'm over here somehow.
I've had commissions for 2 dog portraits. I had never painted a dog, so I was like, okay, sure. And the one, it took me 10 tries, and it was okay, and I sent it. They loved it.
Sure.
I liked it enough to send it. I still would redo it forever, probably, is what would happen. I would redo it until it was the actual dog, because I won't be happy until...
right.
And then that's another part of it, too, is I'm like, well, is this art, or am I just trying to make the thing I'm painting happen on the paper?
Like you're
like there's no, this is, I'm just a, there's a
you're trying to bring Pinocchio to life.
Yeah, there's this artist Stapleton Kearns, who I watched one of his like he was teaching plein air oil, and I picked up nothing. I retained none of it except the one sentence, "We are not meat cameras." The idea that we're just trying to take a picture and put it down makes you a meat camera.
Right.
And I'm still very much stuck in the meat camera phase of my learning journey, where I'm like, this doesn't look exactly, this painting isn't barking at me, so it must be fake. And so I'm struggling with finding, I want the things to look like my things and not to look like the thing I'm painting, if that makes any sense. I want it to look like I painted it.
That doesn't
versus
make sense.
and I'm still not quite there.
Well, and also you're so fucking new to it.
Yeah.
It's new. You're new. But do you think knowing yourself, I know you're new, so it's like, how many years have you not painted versus how many years have you painted?
Well, that's not fair. I'm old.
I know. But how many do you think you'll ever get to the point where you'll be like, yeah, I'm a really good painter now? Because I've been painting for, I don't know, 30 years.
No, what's going to happen is I'm going to get to the point where I don't think I'm learning anymore.
Yeah.
And I will get bored. So I will get to the point where I'm painting and I'm like, okay, I know how to paint this bird, and I do this, and there's the bird.
Yeah.
What am I doing with myself at this point? It's not, again, I do not recommend being me. I do not recommend this brain, because I literally I have a bird in front of me. It's a frigate bird. Liz asked me to paint it. I don't know if it's gonna most people would be happy with this.
That looks great.
I fucking hate it.
Okay.
The eye's wrong. I can't get the gullet right. The beak is off color. The contrast is wrong. I can't get the shimmeriness of the feathers. I don't have an actual frigate bird in front of me, and I don't have any stylistic knowledge on how to make it look like some. So I like it, but I hate it at the same time. And a lot of people, I think, feel like it's an act where I'm just like, no, I don't like it. Please compliment me more. I genuinely see a lot wrong with this, and I would like to keep getting better. And
Oh yeah,
I'm
so
worried-
that's interesting. So I never thought that was an act. I've always felt you're genuine when I see that. I just don't give a shit
Okay.
because I'm like, I don't care. I don't care that you don't like it. It's not for
No,
you.
that's
It's for
fine.
me. You made it. It's for us.
Yeah.
It's not for you. It's not going to be on your wall.
Yeah, and well, there's one bird I painted as a Watson bird.
Watson.
Hoatzin.
Not okay. Yeah, not so. It literally is
It's-
not just Watson.
No, it sounds like Watson.
Oh, Watson.
Yeah, Watson.
Okay.
It's also known as a stink bird,
Okay.
and it is hideous and has this bright blue face and these feathers, and it apparently smells bad and tastes bad, and it's bad at everything, and it looks terrible. And it took me 3 or 4 times to get it right. And
It's not in your shop.
that is one I'm framing.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I'm
For you.
framing. So
you?
the watercolor award came with the award was $50 off framing at one place. Like
Amazing.
that's the extent of the award.
Amazing.
And then a brush that says you won this award. And instead of framing that bird that won the award, I used it to
Right.
frame this. It's still there. I have to pick it up.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the prints if that's what you're looking for. That is the closest I'll get. And for me, I still see everything wrong with the painting, but I see the progress from the first time I tried it to that version of it. And that's where I find my success, I think, is in the growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the before and afters are where I feel better about what I'm doing.
And it's really understandable. Well, yeah, and that's so I do appreciate that, and I think that's what's always drawn me to keep coming back to watching what you're doing, because I appreciate that as someone who makes shit myself.
Yeah.
I'm curious when you think, or do you have a sense of when you think you'll stop learning, or when you think you're done learning? Because like I've been doing video stuff and doing creative stuff forever, and I don't ever think I know anything, but I keep making stuff. I keep trying. I keep pushing, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I know how to do this or do that, or.
I hope not. I hope I don't know when I'll stop learning, because the fun thing about it being me is I will just shift to learn something else.
Right.
I had an entire thesis. My master's thesis was on designing objects of the future with the people in mind instead of the objects.
Right.
So thinking about the people of the future, which is a very, very difficult task, because you always just think about yourself in the future instead of how much you'll actually change. And I have entire books on it. I thought I was going to pursue a PhD in it.
Right.
I don't think I've read a book in like 2 years. Ever since I started getting excited about painting, I watch tutorials.
Right.
That's my bedtime activity now, is I'll watch another painting tutorial. And I'm at a certain point now where all the tutorials are just like recapping stuff I know.
Right.
Or they feel like, or the things they're teaching feel gimmicky, like a certain technique of splashing the paint. And I'm like, it's obvious you're splashing the paint. Why would...
Right.
There's no intrigue in that. So I'm now getting frustrated with the education that I have access to. And so it becomes well, now what? And can I expand my own way of learning to take things from other places and apply it to painting?
Yeah, I was going to
turned
ask
into
you,
oil.
will you pull from other places?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's kind of what we're bringing it back to Minecraft. That's kind of what I'm doing with Minecraft.
Right.
How can I apply this art learning to something else? So that becomes, I'm going to make dioramas in Minecraft that I learn how to paint in the real world. And, or it becomes like, I'm going to try and paint in VR and see if it translates in the same way.
Right.
Or can I, as an example, one of the things I want to do is, now that I have a solid grounding in painting birds, can I paint them and animate those paints? So can I paint each frame of an animation and make that into something? And so I lately I've been just trying to find how I can take that and learn something else. How can I paint and turn that into something in Blender that becomes an animation, that becomes a thing? And can I have a big idea with like a talk show type thing where I want to animate part of it, but I'm not that good at drawing.
Right.
So how do I learn how to draw? And so can I bring people on to teach me how to draw? Right. And it's all connected. But right now I'm just playing Minecraft and sorting. In Minecraft, I made a 444 different item sorter.
Okay. Well, I don't know what does that mean? You throw 440 items in there?
I can take
what does that mean?
Any item, I can put it in one spot, and it will sort and organize through 400. And all of that was a side quest because I'm stuck on the biome. I'm stuck on the dioramas. I don't know what they're going to be, so I haven't started on them. I have a vision in my head. I don't know how to pull it off, so I will side quest. Yeah. And that's the ADHD, is my productive procrastination. Sure. And I don't know why I'm mentioning that, other than the learning along the way sometimes takes you down paths you probably should have skipped. I probably should have skipped this item sorter, but at this point, there was a certain point where I needed to finish it to feel alive. Yeah. And so, again, coming back to this idea of like failure and stuff, sometimes you go down the wrong paths.
Do you honestly think, though, that anything is failure? I don't think anything's failure. I think it's all led. Have you not pulled lessons from things? From everything that you say you failed at? Have you not learned things?
I've learned things, not enough to undo my failures yet. No. I don't want to be a downer. I'm not very happy with where I am because of mistakes I made. Sure. None of them hurt anybody. It was just financial things. Yeah. But I don't know when I'll stop feeling like a failure. It's part of things I talk about in therapy. So we don't have to do that here.
Yeah, we don't have to do that here. Yeah, we don't have to do that here.
My point.
But I do think it's important. I do think it is. I think it's really awesome of you to share even an inkling of it, because you're not alone. You're not the only person. That's for sure.
And that's why I mentioned. I'm like I know a lot of times you can feel like a failure, and I'm learning to paint, or I want to do art things, but that would mean all this other stuff I did was useless, and that's not the case. If you're, and this was part of like when I was trying to help students navigate shifting industries, because that's kind of what the program I was in, they were doing. I had somebody who was like a macrobiologist and wanted to do this, and like how do you take and learn from your mistakes is something I still struggle with. But it is a struggle, and I think a lot of times people end up in places they didn't want to be. They didn't want to go to that place. Sure. But once they get there, they find happiness in it. So if you asked me where I was going to be 5 years ago, did I think I was going to be doing okay-ish bird paintings in a mostly green room while I'm streaming to 100-ish people? Right. No. That doesn't make sense. Why would I do that? Right. But a lot of the time, I am happy when I'm doing it more than I'm not.
Well, and you probably, I'm guessing, you probably wouldn't have met I Paint Burbs. Nope. You wouldn't have met I Can Be Danny, which I think are probably huge parts of your, and many others are probably huge parts of your life and livelihood. And, and that's where I was like, that's where life's all fucked up. It circles and jots down, and where you land at any particular point, it's like, okay, but what's around me that's going to make me excited? Yeah. I don't know. I think there's good parts to that. You wouldn't have met any of those people.
Yeah. The connecting of the dots doesn't always make sense, because quite literally that video you showed of the Sex Miniature Vine series. because of that Vine series, I was like, I had a moderate following on Vine. I met a bunch of pals like Chris Melberger, who then introduced me to Twitch because Chris was streaming, and I checked him out, and then I started streaming later on. And so, in a way, the sex miniatures brought me here today to you.
And then I found them.
I don't know how you feel about that.
And then I found them, and now we've come full circle.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel pretty good about it.
I hate that that's true a little bit. But it is. It's a very weird sentence to say, hey, it was nice to do this show with you today. And it's all thanks to sex miniatures.
To the sex miniatures.
The one
that you still have in a box that you can see that aren't far away.
They're not far away. The 1/87th scale.
That's good.
Detailed.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good place to end. Yeah, although I did want to ask you, actually, before we end, I did want to ask you, Lost Creatures Radio. Yeah. Is that a... Because I looked at that, and I was like, I find that fascinating.
So when I was doing all the Phoenix stuff, we formed a nonprofit because it was all to fund it. Like, it wasn't, I never really made any money from any of that.
Okay, yeah.
And that was named something else, and then it became Lost Creature, and that was the 501c3 that I ran. And right now it's kind of just, it's nothing. But along the way, I did a podcast with a couple pals, and that was 2011.
And
it's not 2000. It must have been 2013 or 14, but it's not. It's nothing anymore.
You can't find it, right?
No, it was hosted on my old on an old DreamHost.
Right. I tried to find it because there was some episode, or I saw that it was a podcast at one point. And I was very excited.
Yeah, it was just a couple of us talking through some, like, I think one of them was about failure. Usually what happened was we eventually got back to how much I hate the movie Gravity.
Okay.
Because I think it's a terrible film.
Okay.
And it was pretty to look at, but the plot was terrible and I hated everything. And so I just want to keep the trend going of every time I'm on a podcast, I mention how much I dislike the film Gravity.
I'm glad we could include sex miniatures, Gravity sucks. The movie, not the concept.
My entirety is a failure. This is a great.
It's good. I'm glad we could really.
I'm so happy we did this.
Really, bring everybody up. That's good. No, but I do appreciate you taking the time, and I really appreciate your honesty. Always, I've always appreciated your honesty.
I try to not be anybody I'm not, online or off. So,
and if you tune in to twitch.tv/Dudlik, you will see that. That's the one I was like, I understand that. I got that right away.
Again, I cannot recommend enough not watching me or being.
You should watch you.
I think you should avoid me at all.
You should watch you. Yeah. Go watch Mark Dudlik, twitch.tv/Dudlik. Hang out in there. Pay your fees. I won't be paying any fees. Pay your fee though.
Now, and there will be punishments.
There will be punishment. We started this off by saying that we were going to have a fight. I think we had a nice battle all the way through. Mm-hmm. We'll let the audience decide who won, who has a better beard. It's a lot of beard back and forth.
I think you win on all fronts.
Well, obviously you're going to say that. You're always going to say that.
Yeah. And it's always true. That's the worst part about being
not true.
Is being true. Right all the time about being the worst.
That's not true. But I do thank you for coming on here, being honest, and sharing honestly all of that, because I do think the journey, the journey that you're on, and you're still on it, obviously, is the whole spirit of what Do More Cool Shit is. It's like there's never an end. It's just you just start doing shit, and then you never stop doing shit. And actually, I've never thought of that until this moment. So you just gave me an epiphany, sir. Is that it is true though? Once you're in the creative world, you just don't stop doing it. And I really admire your ability to keep doing it. I don't know if you would, if you're going to blame that on ADHD or whatever, but it's like this idea that like you want to keep learning and you just keep moving, and like you do shit online that like people wouldn't try. They'd be like, I'm not very good at it. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think part of it is I'm constantly seeking some moment of happiness. And it's they sneak up, but I think the creating and finding those little moments of something happening that you didn't expect to happen, that just lights up problem solving.
Yeah.
And creative solving a problem creatively is that it's the best thing. And that's literally all I'm ever chasing, is just those little moments of something working.
Yeah. Well, well, we made this work. Kudos to us for making this work.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it a lot. I know we only have a few exchanges here and there in chats and stuff, but I do admire what you're doing, and I do thank you for having me here.
Well, it's very kind of you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
I won the fight by being nice. Absolutely wrecked.
All right. Bye, Dudlik.
Bye.
Okay, well, that was an amazing conversation that I just got to have with Mark Dudlik. I hope you've made it all the way to this point, because, man, Mark's journey and I'm always astonished. I was already impressed. Now I'm astonished and impressed with Mark's journey as an artist, as a creative, as a what do you call it? A creative type. I hope you enjoyed that battle that him and I got to have throughout this episode. Someone who is trying to encourage other people to get out there and try and find that happiness. And Mark, who is actually actively on that search for this, seeking those moments of happiness. And I keep repeating that because that's something that Mark said. You heard it at the end. And it's something that just keeps sticking in my brain, of seeking these moments of happiness. And I think that's what the whole planet is about. We're all about seeking these moments of happiness and making sure that we understand what they are so that we can have more of those moments of happiness. As you can always see, I hope this gets burned into your brain. As we can always see, the journey is never linear. It's very rarely linear. I think it's almost never linear. I think if you're stuck or you're in an interesting spot in your life, don't pressure yourself to understand it. Pressure yourself to feel what's happening in the moment, to be in the moment, to allow yourself to navigate, to keep trying new things. One thing that I really took away from this, and one thing that I'm not anywhere near as good as Mark Dudlik, and thank God he's not here, so I get to say whatever I want, so he can't fight with me on this. One thing that I'm not nearly as good at, and that I think Mark has oodles and oodles of talent in, is being able to switch from one thing to another, and to take all your prior learnings and to be able to put those in, and to understand that creative problem solving is the thing that's driving you, and it's not the medium. I am always in awe of Mark being able to say, like, hey, I'm going to learn to crochet. Hey, I'm going to learn to plein air. Paint, and I'm going to do it on a stream with other people. I think we're so afraid of, and I've talked about this so many times, if you're afraid or you have fear of failure, whatever that failure looks like, I think you need to go and watch Mark Dudlik's streams, not because he fails a lot, but because he tries a lot. I don't know how you couldn't watch one of his streams and continue to watch his journey as he goes through these progresses, and as he goes through these steps. I'm always blown away, and I'm always motivated and impressed by it. So take that, Mark Dudlik. Thank you so much for coming on the episode. I thank you guys. I'm so appreciative that you guys came in to this episode. I do want to reiterate, please go visit domorecoolshit.com. This is also a video recorded podcast, so if you're listening to it and you want to see the two of us battle out a little bit, please go over to YouTube, check out Do More Cool Shit over there, and I will see you guys back here soon with a brand new episodes. Thank you so much for following along.